Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
It's the beginning of the end.
Da, da, da.
Final season begins. That angers me that he can't fold that pizza.
I had the same note. Wait, do you not like that part of the movie? Because that's the movie.
No. I thank God every day I know the lyrics to Enter the Sandman.
After brutal dumping. No, that sounds terrible.
After I took a brutal dump.
Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you are listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that for a variety of reasons was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. You never know. You might find your own forgotten gem. If you enjoy our podcast, we want to hear from you. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Find us. Our podcast is available on all platforms with a backlog of over 200 episodes for your listening pleasure.
What's up?
Nothing much. I just listened to some pitches from some screenwriters, but I'm ignoring one guy, but he's sent me some threatening letters.
Interesting. That sounds like you're a player.
Oh, yeah.
I've been saying player like player for the last 10 minutes. So I figured I'd put it on the cast as well. Yes. Nice. Welcome back to another edition of Forgotten Cinema. We are doing today the movie The Player. If you have not heard of it, here's a synopsis and we'll get into it and, you know, all that fun stuff.
All the stuff we usually do in every episode.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Certain that the anonymous threats he's been receiving are the work of David Kahane. Producer Griffin Mill tries to fix things over cocktails. Instead, Griffin ends up murdering the screenwriter and courting the dead man's girlfriend. As police investigate, Griffin concentrates on a prestigious film that might reinvigorate his career, but he soon learns that David's demise hasn't been forgotten by everyone in Hollywood. It's okay.
They really put an emphasis on that script he works on to give to Larry.
The script he's working on is to sabotage Larry. I can't remember
habeas corpus.
Yeah, habeas corpus. That's to kind of sabotage him, and then obviously
it is because coming
true Hollywood. Yeah, in true Hollywood fashion, it's a turnaround. But anyways, The Player has a runtime of 124 minutes. It's rated R. Production budget of $8 million. It came out on a limited release date on April 10th. 1992. I don't believe it never really had a huge wide release. It maybe got to about 400 or 500 theaters, I believe. So that's why you're going to get the limited release date here of April 10th. Opening weekend, it did $302,000. Domestic, 21.7. International, 7.1. To give you a worldwide total of $28.8 million. Production company was Avenue Pictures, Spelling Entertainment, David Brown Productions, and Addis Welcher. Hopefully I said that right.
Okay.
Distributed by Fine Line Features. Came out the 10th of April. Went up against in a wide release Sleepwalkers and Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest, and Newsies. You probably saw Fern Gully.
I did see Fern
and
Gully.
Newsies.
I have actually never seen Newsies.
Interesting. Did you see Sleepwalkers?
I mean, not like when that came out, but I saw it like later on. Yeah.
For some reason, I always thought Sleepwalkers was a TV movie. But I was wrong. I can't believe you didn't see Newsies. Interesting. Anyways, the week after, the 17th of April, you had in a wide release The Babe, Deep Cover, and City of Joy, and a limited release Brain Donors. None of those sound familiar to you?
None of those sound. I mean, The Babe is, I assume, Babe Ruth?
Yeah, John Goodman.
Oh,
right?
I've seen The Babe. Yeah, okay.
April 3rd, the week before, you had a wide release of Beethoven, Straight Talk, Rock-a-Doodle, Thunderheart, and a limited release of Delicatessen.
I've seen Rock-a-Doodle and Beethoven.
Of course you have. This movie is directed by Robert Altman. He has been nominated for 2 Oscars for Gosford Park, another 2 for Nashville. He was nominated for the movie Shortcuts, the movie MASH, and of course he did the movie Popeye, which we did a season or 2 ago.
Yes.
Written by Michael.
What should I say?
Oh boy. Written by Michael Tolkien, who has done the TV show The Offer, the TV show Ray Donovan, and the movie Deep Impact. Cinematographer was Jean Lapine, who's done Ready to Wear, and Bob Roberts, which also stars Tim Robbins, who's in this film, which we'll get to in a second. Composer was Thomas Newman, who has 15 Oscar nominations. I'm not going to go through them because we've done several Thomas Newman movies, but he has also been Skyfall and 1917, to name a few. Edited by Maisie Hoy and Geraldine Perroni. Hoy has done The Joy Luck Club, What Dreams May Come, and Perroni has done Brokeback Mountain and Michael. Now, when you watch the movie, the credit is only for Geraldine Perroni. So I don't know where Maisie Hoy comes in, or maybe vice versa. I'm not sure. But one of them has the main credit and the other one pops in. So I'm not really sure what happened there. And I didn't get any of the notes. And yeah, so there you go. Produced by David Brown, Michael Tolkien, and Nick Welshler. Brown is nominated for 4 Oscars for movies that he's produced because they all were nominated for Best Feature, Chocolat, A Few Good Men, The Verdict, and Jaws. Tolkien's the same as the movies and the TV shows are referenced above, The Offer and Ray Donovan. So he's produced much of the stuff he's written. And then Welshler has done Quills, Fierce People, and Magic Mike. Actually, the Magic Mike series. So the new one coming out too, which is Magic Mike Forever.
Magic Mike's Last Dance, I think.
Is it Last Dance? I thought it's Forever. Okay.
I think Forever was the last one.
Okay.
Which I didn't even know there was a second one.
No. The second one's Magic Mike XXL.
Okay.
It's pretty sad.
I didn't even know there was a second
Pretty sad that I know that. Tim Robbins is the lead here. He plays Griffin Mill. Won an Oscar for his role in Mystic River. He also was nominated for an Oscar for Dead Man Walking. He's also obviously in Shawshank Redemption. That's probably where a lot of people remember him from.
And the Tenacious D movie.
And the Tenacious D movie. Tim Robbins is a good actor.
Yeah.
Greta Sachi is June Goodman. I can't say
Goodman's daughter.
There you go. She is in Presumed Innocent. She's the mistress in Presumed Innocent. She's also in Emma and the movie Shattered. Fred Ward as Walter Stucco. We obviously lost Fred Ward this year, 2022. So rest in peace, sir. He's in Tremors, Chain Reaction, Summer Catch, a movie we did, Butler, and he's also Remo Williams. Whoopi Goldberg as Detective for Avery, nominated for an Oscar. Won an Oscar for Ghost, nominated for an Oscar in The Color Purple. She's also in the Sister Act movies. Isn't there a third one coming out? I thought there was.
There's talk of the third.
Oh, I thought they already.
There is a third one. There's a fourth one maybe coming out.
Shoot, there is a third. I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure there's a Sister.
I know there's 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Sister Act 1 and 2. Peter Gallagher as Larry Levy, who's in American Beauty, While You Were Sleeping, and the TV show The OC. Brian James as Joel Levison. He is in Blade Runner, Striking Distance, and The Fifth Element. Cynthia Stevenson as Bonnie Chereau. She's in Happiness, Jennifer's Body, and Home for the Holidays. You got Vincent D'Onofrio as David Kahane, TV show Daredevil, movie Eyes of Tammy Faye, and he's also in Jurassic World. Dean Stockwell. Oh, Dean Stockwell, rest in peace.
Oh.
Andy Savella. He's nominated for an Oscar for Married to the Mob. He's also in Blue Velvet, and obviously a show we always talk about on this podcast, Quantum Leap. Richard E. Grant as Tom Oakley, nominated for an Oscar for Can You Ever Forgive Me? He's also in Hudson Hawk, which is an episode we did our first season.
First season, yes.
Wow. And Gosford Park. Sidney Pollack as Dick Mellon. He won 2 Oscars for the movie Out of Africa for director and best picture. He also was nominated for 2 Oscars for Tootsie for director and best picture. And he was nominated for an Oscar for a movie that we did, Michael Clayton, for best picture.
Mm-hmm.
Lyle Lovett as Detective DeLongpre, who's in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and the TV show The Bridge. He's also obviously a country singer, folk singer.
Country singer.
Jeremy,
but it's really more fun.
Yeah. Jeremy Piven as Steve Reeves, who's in the TV show The Entourage, Grosse Point Blank, and The Family Man. And finally, Gina Gershon as Whitney Gersh. She's in the movie Bound and Showgirls. And there are a ton of other actors and actresses in this film that have cameos.
Absolute ton.
Right. And so I didn't reference it because these people are all playing different characters. But if you watch this movie, they are all in the background. And they're floating around there. Some have lines, some don't. But you obviously some if you don't blink, if you don't see them because you have to kind of see them in the background.
There's some that they listed in these notes that I'm like, I don't remember even looking at them.
Right. I mean, you got Jack Lemmon playing the piano at that party. I'm like, that's Jack Lemmon, and like we're not even going anywhere near him.
I didn't even notice it was him playing the piano.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap. So, anyways, this film for the last of the facts before we'll get into what we thought about it, and then I have to go back into the facts. The last of the facts is this was nominated for 3 Oscars for film editing, Peroni, like I mentioned before, adapted screenplay, which was Tolkien, and then director, which is Robert Altman. So, but obviously they did not win, but they were nominated. So I have seen this movie a long, long time ago. This is probably my second time seeing it in full. I may have picked up a few scenes here and there, but I don't know. I want to say I watched this in the 90s. I don't know when. I don't know if it was it wasn't in the theater. Probably was at home.
Okay.
You had never heard of it, right?
I had never heard it until recently. I think I said in the last episode, there was like an article that was essentially trying to be forgotten cinema, like a series of articles that never got past the first article. And they listed the player. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it sounds like a really good movie. I don't know. I've never seen it.
Interesting. So first thoughts.
It's a really good movie. I don't know. I've never seen it. It's maybe a little longer than it needs to be. And there are certain things I'm not a huge fan of, but overall, I think it's a really good movie. It's a really interesting, it's not really a mystery, but it's a really interesting kind of thriller. And the way they play with the entertainment industry is really cool.
Yeah, you have two things going here. It's the mystery element. Guy gets away with murder and trying to get out of it, but also it's wrapped in this satirical, cynical look at Hollywood and just the hypocrisy of Hollywood, and
a very like the producer aspect, which I thought was really interesting because you don't usually get the producer. Usually, the producers are to the side. You focus on the screenwriter, directors, or the big studio executives.
Yep.
Studios, producers usually have.
Producers aren't the main characters, which you're
Yeah.
saying they're more supporting characters, and they're crapped on mostly.
Mhm.
They're made fun of and kind of discounted or wild cards, if you will. My note is that this film and name any other film that you watch or TV show that talks about Hollywood and living in Hollywood, and it's all cynical and it's all just highlights the hypocritical nature of that world.
Sure.
But yet everyone is still
that way.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't get this. Like you're writing stuff and you're commenting on stuff on how much you hate the business, but yet you don't do anything to change it. And I'm curious what you think about that, because at some point it's just like, can we stop just like openly saying like, yes, we're the worst and we're going to continue to be the worst. We can't fix it.
That was a note that I saw about the movie, is when they were praised by Hollywood and they were nominated for something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Altman had to contact Tim Robbins. I guess we were too nice to them.
Right. You weren't. Yeah.
Because they were all like, oh, we love it. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We're talking about how you guys are all douchebags.
Exactly. And it's not, you think that it's maybe even better to that point. You think that it's obviously satire, but it's so on point. Maybe it's like they just don't get it. Like it's not as
it's that ridiculous.
Exactly.
That, like,
you think that it's that stuff doesn't happen, but that stuff happens and more. It's
oh, I killed a screenwriter as well. That's like, I just kept, after the movie, I just pictured a screenwriter pitching this to a Tim Robbins type character and them going, I love it. Let's do it. Much like he did on the phone to his blackmailer. The player, I like that title.
Yeah.
Just like,
can you guarantee me the ending? Yeah, exactly. even the guy who's threatening to kill him, and you think it's this real threat, right? Even he is just going to sell that out because he knows he's about to make a deal.
Yep.
And even when they talk about Richard E. Grant's character, because he's the one that pitches the habeas corpus movie, and throughout the entire
has to be the right.
Oh, so Tom Oakley, that's his character's name, is always like talking about how this has to be the ending. This has to be the ending. And
no
then
Bruce Willis.
Yeah. And then at the end, it's obviously Bruce Willis playing the role and Julia Roberts in the other role. And then Cynthia Stevenson, who plays Bonnie Chereau, turns around. She's like, you totally sold out.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's talking about how Focus Features, they don't like it. Yeah. The focus group
hated it.
Yes. So it's so, I don't like, I want to praise that, and I do, but then again, I want to be like, but you're not learning anything. And I don't know. Yeah. Obviously this movie's job isn't to teach. It's to just kind of entertain in terms of the craziness and madness of that world.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the ending because, like I said, I don't think anyone learns anything, but because it's a satire, I'm more okay with it than I would be in any other movie.
Well, it doesn't make sense so you have a main character, not that it doesn't make sense, but you have a main character in Griffin Mill who gets away with murder, and he doesn't learn his lesson, and he becomes a studio chief at the end. He gets the girl. He's got his family. What he does to Bonnie is completely a slap in the face to her. He's dating Bonnie, for those who don't know.
Yep.
Tells her that he's just going to take it easy this weekend. She goes away. He sends her
to New York to make a deal.
Right, to make a deal for a book. And he takes out this other girl to an event that has everyone that he works with there.
Yeah. Not only does he take out another girl, the girl who was the girlfriend/friend of
Kahane.
Kahane, who he murdered.
Yeah.
After he murdered, knowing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically even though he's set up as a protagonist, he's really not.
It's very much like a Macbeth kind of character.
But Macbeth doesn't get away with it. Yeah.
Doesn't get away with it, but it kind of follows a Macbeth type, killing the guy and then going crazy and losing everything. But at the end, even though he's about to lose everything, he just gets everything.
Right.
But that's kind of what he gets at throughout the movie about happy endings. It needs to be a happy ending. It needs to be a happy ending.
Sure.
That's almost the satire, which is almost the main reason why I'm okay with the ending as it is, because they hinted it has to have a happy ending.
Sure.
So you kind of know it's going that way. But he should, I still think he should learn something or get some kind of comeuppance.
Well, usually in movies like this, where you think that the guy gets away with murder, or gets away with whatever he gets away with, there's usually like that last second shot of like nobody know, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
him driving
there.
And there's a bunch of police cars, the sirens or something like that.
Right, like when you like have a main character at the end of end of a long series, something bad happens to him because he has to pay for all his sins, kind of. Yeah. But so you don't get that here. Obviously,
no, I was waiting for him to drive up to Whoopi Goldberg's character, the detective, like waiting for him at his front gates with information, or I half thought his car was going to blow up when he answered the phone
Oh yeah.
at the very end, but you don't get any of that.
You don't get that, and it's kind of weird because you don't get any. If you had that, you don't get any kind of inkling that there's any kind of explosives that could be set off. You know what I mean? Like they don't find a bomb somewhere or something like that. You brought up Whoopi Goldberg, and she plays Detective Avery. What do you think of? What did you think about the cop stuff?
Well, when she first appeared, I thought she was playing Whoopi Goldberg because it's so hard to differentiate characters and actors.
There's definitely not like any kind of. There's definitely not any kind of actors losing themselves in roles.
Sure, yeah. So when she first appears and she's holding the Oscar, until she puts out her badge, I thought she was Whoopi waiting to, have an interview with Griffin Mill. But I thought they were okay. I thought they were very similar to the detectives in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Okay.
They reminded me a lot of that. Like onto the case and onto something, but at the same time, a little too inept to actually crack the case.
I couldn't tell if the scene that I'm thinking of all is when he goes and to look at a lineup and they just kind of are like openly laughing. And I couldn't tell if, are you really just interviewing him? This is how you're doing it, but you're like just being belligerent.
It's 5. You mean 5? That's 3.
Not even that. Yes. Yeah, that
so you're not talking about the lineup. You're talking about
the first time. Yes. The mugshots. Yeah. We can get to the lineup.
I like that mugshot scene because I like how casual Detective Avery is and how like she knows and just the fact that he's so on edge. And I like the tampon line. Oh, right. I think the tampon lines are really funny. Where are the tampons? So he's asking the only other female on the tech. I didn't take them. Oh, sorry. Did you take them? Did you take who else? Who else here would have taken my tampons?
But you were talking about the lineup as well.
The lineup is just kind of like bad copping, I guess.
Well, that's the thing. Like that, are they inept or? Like, so if they're inept in that scene, are they inept in the mugshot scene?
I don't think they're inept. Like they know it's Griffin. They're good enough to know it's Griffin.
But they're not good enough to seal the deal.
They're not good enough to seal the deal, yeah. Like they just have all of this suspicion and correctly so. And they have nothing to put it together.
See, and the satire should have gone even further there then. It should have been even more in terms of like what if you're trying to say something there by saying that the cops are starstruck and they're trying to help him out because one of them has a script that they want to get produced. But instead,
none of these cops really care about it. Movies.
Right.
Yeah, they talk about Lyle Lovett's character.
Detective DeLongpre, yeah.
Having just seen Freaks, a 50-year-old movie even back then for the first time. It's just kind of like...
Yeah.
So you guys really don't care about movies.
Right. Which would have been even a better chance to have them represent the audience in the movie. Like we could have, we could see the bullshit through their eyes.
Maybe one of them is starstruck and the other one's not, or both starstruck. Yeah. Right. I think that would have been better.
Yeah.
Because they know, but somehow they don't get the evidence. And if one of them was too starstruck to seal the deal, would have been better.
Right. See, I like this one quite a bit.
Yes, do I? Yeah.
But that stuff, I feel like there's a missed opportunity to like this film is a really good film, but I think that stuff that we're talking about, I think is a missed opportunity for it to be a great film.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? I just think that, and that's just choices. That's just choices that Altman makes and the writer and the producers and actors. It's just a choice that they decided to go that way. But I think there was something better there within what we saw that we probably could have got a really great story that it wouldn't be forgotten. People would talk about it even more.
Agreed. Yeah. He either if the detectives somehow botched it more than they did and he gets away with it, it makes a little bit more sense because their obsession with Hollywood also got him free.
Right. Now, do you think that it is a distraction that there are about 50 to 60 celebrities in the background in this? Do you find yourself watching it? Because you watched it the first time. Right. If you watch it again, you might be finding yourself spotting that.
Well, like I said, there were even more celebrities on this list I didn't notice.
Right.
But I didn't find it too distracting. Other than, like I said, the Whoopi part was a little distracting because now I'm out of the scene going, is she a character? Right. Or is she because she was too at the forefront? But I mean, I really liked, talking to John Cusack and
Angelica Houston.
Angelica Houston. I thought that was cool.
They're related.
Is that in real life?
Yes. Pretty sure she is his aunt.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I believe so.
But at the same time, I'm like, are they playing actors? Are they the characters? But they're just in the background. As soon as they come up, and he's like, "Hey, John," and Malcolm McDowell's in there. Right. I thought that was a cool
little scene. Yep.
So there are some cool things, but I like that Dean Stockwell. You see him talking to Andy McDowell.
Yeah.
And then he quickly introduces himself as Andy.
Yeah.
Which I like because then I immediately know, unlike the Whoopi scene, where I'm just like, is he actually
Right.
a character, or is he actually just playing Dean Stockwell? And like he immediately introduces himself as a character, so I know.
Right.
But like the Burt Reynolds stuff didn't distract me like that. John Lemon, I was more distracted by they were playing Christmas music, and there's nothing else to show that it's Christmas.
Oh, Jack Lemmon,
Yeah, when he's playing Jingle Bells, I'm like, so wait, is it Christmas? I have no indication that it was Christmas.
Right.
So I didn't find it too distracting. I would actually like to go back and try to spot who I didn't notice.
Right.
I like certain things, like look at Julia Roberts to do it. She's talked about in every pitch.
Young Julia Roberts too.
Yeah, this is really young.
Yeah.
And when they finally like at the end, Julia Roberts is the main character, and they talk about Bruce Willis for Habeas Corpus, but they don't mention him in any other pitch.
Right.
But she's mentioned in every pitch, so I like that she finally appears.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I didn't find it distracting. I'd actually think it was more enjoyable to try to catch things I missed next time around. But obviously, that shtick will age as time goes by.
I just think you start trying to point them out as you keep watching them, and maybe this question is just a question I'm saying out loud. Does that pull you away from the movie? Does that pull you out of enjoying what they're saying in the film? I don't know.
Yeah. But I wasn't watching it with anyone else. I wasn't really pointing. But like,
hey, look, it's Burt Reynolds.
But yeah, if you're saying that little, I might be like, if I was watching this with Elise, I might be like, hey, you see that guy? That's so-and-so, or hey, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And there's some people probably you don't know by sight, like if it starts off with Buck Henry, the screenwriter for The Graduate, pitching The Graduate 2. I
didn't know it was the screenwriter for The Graduate 2, but I like that. I don't know if it was him, but there is a Graduate 2 now.
Yeah, I know.
So that was my first note going, there is one. This was what was said as a joke and something stupid back then actually happened.
Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
What else is a good idea? The movie Habeas Corpus, because a movie studio actually approached Robert Altman to actually make Habeas Corpus afterward. And he's like, I guess he said no, because it never happened.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
that's how unironic.
No, my note here is that the writer Tolkien, a film company, called him and tried to option it. Like just tried to option it from him. It's like, it's not a script, man.
I'd have been like, yeah, absolutely, take it. It's take the idea. I don't have a script for it.
A lot of the celebrity cameos were not in the script. Altman had added them. So I'm curious now, knowing that note, what type of movie would we have watched without the celebrity cameos? Would it have been as effective?
I think it would have been less effective.
Okay.
Because it would have felt small.
Right.
And by putting all these actors in the world, it feels big. It feels real. Because the movie studio set is honestly just one little studio and an office. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like they shot it on the Warner Brothers lot. I guess they shot it on, who is it? Somebody's defunct.
So they shot at Zoetrope Studios, which was Francis Ford Coppola's former lot.
Right.
But they also used his office in the movie Barton Fink. So the Coen brothers actually used that office as well, which, I got to be honest, I know I watched Barton Fink. I don't remember it. So I almost want to go back and find that and see if, that looks familiar.
I mean, Griffin's office is super 90s with the gray walls. I kind of actually like his LED clock with the blue lights going around it.
Oh, I do. I like that basketball hoop. I'll tell you that. It counts the points.
Yeah. I actually, my cousin had that.
Oh, nice. Nice. They haven't improved on that. At least I haven't seen it.
No, they got worse. I haven't seen something with it.
I know. It's like, what, are they too expensive to make? I mean, come on now. So, but I guess a couple other notes or one final note about the cameos that Altman convinced the celebrities who did the cameos to donate their union scale salary for one day of work to the motion picture and television country house and hospital for retired filmmakers. So I thought that was pretty cool too. So
yeah, that was nice.
You had a lot of donations going on, and plus obviously they're just in the background hanging out. I mean, they're probably just all hanging out having a good time,
just eating.
That too.
Half of them are like drinking or eating in any of the scenes they're in.
I mean, you saw Gary Busey in there with the mullet, right? This one, that's my other.
I did not.
Really? Yeah, he's at the premiere. So one of the questions I had too watching this, and maybe this is also goes to the kind of like backwards ass style of Hollywood is like was Griffin Mill ever a great executive? Like, was he ever good at his job? I mean, I know he's got Oscars on his table there.
Yeah, he's won Oscars.
But still, it's like he is in. I mean, maybe that's part of the business where you're consistently scared that you're out.
I think that's the thing, is that he probably hasn't made a movie that's made them a lot of money in a while.
Mm-hmm.
The Oscars just show he's made prestige pictures, not that he's made big winners.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's a problem. And then obviously his style is a little different. He's hearing pitches. He's actually, the whole the plot starts out with like he's a jerk because he doesn't tell anybody that yes, you got the movie, no, you don't have the movie, which he kind of tells Goodman's daughter, like June later on, like why he has to pick 12 films. The studio can only make 12 films. He listens to literally 5,000 pitches a year. Not any, all of them are going to get chosen, but he still listens to all of them. Whereas, you know, Larry's whole thing is just, we're going to do it ourselves. We'll find the pitches and then someone else will write it after we find what we want to make.
Larry Levy is like a wonderkind who he almost is like, he thinks, I picture Larry Levy as someone who pictures himself as a Don Draper or like Ryan from The Office. Like he thinks he's like,
he's more Ryan from The Office.
Yeah. Well, now, yeah. But he like thinks his shit is like, you know, it doesn't stink.
Because then Griffin basically puts him in the little office like Ryan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because everything Griffin says about Tom Oakley's pitch happens. It doesn't have a second act, which I didn't realize it when he pitches it. And then I'm like, wait, yeah, it doesn't have. It just has a beginning and end.
Yeah.
It's just like it doesn't have a second act and it's got a terrible ending.
Yeah.
So I'm going to swoop in, create the second act and save the third act. And Larry will be seen as an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But everything he says goes to plan.
And I think in that pitch too, I think that's where when Larry's talking about, it is when Griffin's doing the speech at the event. And he talks about how it's their duty and responsibility to maintain the art of movies in Hollywood, like the type of movies they make.
Yes.
But my question to you is like, there is no more maintaining of that art in Hollywood. Maybe outside of Hollywood for smaller studios, but not Hollywood.
Oh, absolutely. I think like as I'm watching this movie, I'm like, this movie is ripe for a remake because it would be, you could still do the main story, but it would be so different now because Hollywood is so different from what it was in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
It is a completely different ballgame with streamers and television shows and what is prestige and what's not, what's going to theaters is like, there was no Marvel movies.
No.
Like huge 20 movie franchises back then you thought about. So I think this movie is ripe for another remake.
That's fair. And I mean, and I think if they do that, if they do make a remake, I really wish they would go hardcore. They need to really go for the jugular and really like,
you'd be putting this movie out. You could put it on a streamer. You could put it on somebody. You can produce it from somebody who's not one of these guys, these bigwigs now. That's the thing with the new way everything's going. You could really make fun of almost everybody. But
see, I wouldn't do, if I was remaking this, I wouldn't have celebrities in it, but I would have people playing celebrities that kind of like, so it wouldn't be like Robert Downey Jr., but it would be somebody that is obviously Robert Downey Jr. is just a different character name. Like I would do stuff like that. So you could really go because I think that with the celebrities in the film,
because they but it wasn't about making fun of celebrities.
No, but see, that's the thing. You have to make fun of the business. And that's going to be collateral damage with some celebrities, because you can think of it like this too. Celebrities always worry about their personal brand now.
Oh, sure.
So if I am Iron Man, just for the sake of, because I brought up Robert Downey Jr., I'm Iron Man and I'm going to be in a movie and they're going to start ripping on Marvel and Iron Man. They pay my checks. I'm not going to say, no, you guys can't do that. I mean, so you're going to run into that. So
I can see that, because I was thinking it's not about the actors. The actors can still make
no, sure, but
it's making fun of the studio system.
But some of these actors now are their IP and their branding is so ingrained with the other studio's IP and branding that you have to.
I feel like Robert Downey Jr. has made his money though. Like someone like Robert Downey Jr. is gonna be like, all right, I'll be in it. But maybe you'd need older actors who are so ingrained into Hollywood or so like don't care anymore. It's whatever.
I think you would need no names. Maybe
people playing,
but you need to basically. It's almost like
Tom Cruise playing his character from Tropic Thunder.
It's almost like that would actually be good if he was in that. But
the Les Grossman movie was supposed to happen. He still wants to do it.
Yeah, but he's got like 8 other projects he's got on the.
Well, he's gonna die in space. So.
Whoa. You also just like The Boys with the Vindicators. Like you need that. You need that kind of whole like they're obviously that's the Avengers. Like
which
you know
you're
what
right,
I mean?
because like The Boys is made by the studio that's not Disney or anything, so they can do that. By actors who aren't part of that. Yeah.
You need filmmakers and actors and directors who just don't give a fuck and will just go after them and won't care if this movie doesn't make money, but just wants to say something. That's what you need. Like Altman, we talked about Robert Altman on the Popeye episode, where obviously he's got a reputation for being very difficult to work with.
Because he doesn't care.
Because he doesn't care. So him doing this movie makes absolute sense. But tell me the director or the actor that's doing this, or the filmmaker that's doing this film now, that you would just do it and not care.
I think they'd all be scared. It would have to be an older filmmaker
or somebody who just is new and is like, you know what, I'm going to do it because this is my one shot and I don't
That's
care.
true too,
Because
yeah.
honestly, let's be honest, they could do something that completely eviscerates what Hollywood's like right now, and it could be so bad, and Hollywood would still eat it up because they would, we're so terrible. Here's
That's
a 4-picture
like this,
deal. Yeah. But see, I'd be okay with that because they didn't shy away from being biting in there.
Right.
I think Altman kind of pulls back a little. I think we talked about that a little bit before. There is a little pullback, or they didn't go far enough. Maybe that's a better term.
It's like Griffin's a murderer, but he's still not as bad as maybe he could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Which is maybe why I also don't like that he doesn't learn his lesson because he wins everything.
Like kind of like Entourage.
But he's so lazy.
Kind of like how in Entourage, Vinny chasing the boys. They always get in trouble, but they always get out of it. Always something happens.
But they never murder.
No.
anybody.
I mean, just in general.
In general,
I don't mean that. The venal sin of murder.
Yeah.
Or the mortal sin.
Drown him in a puddle of mud.
Right. Yeah. He also. I mean, like David Kahane, went down easy. I mean, you're a tall guy, Vincent.
Yeah. But so is Tim Robbins.
When they were walking in the street together, I'm like, wow, they're just two tall actors.
when Tim Robbins is against the lineup, I'm like, holy crap!
He's 6'6". Yeah. He is really tall. And he's so gangly and thin.
Yep.
And sometimes I'm trying to say it's off-putting, but it kind of does stand out when everyone else is not that tall in the movie.
In Tenacious D, he like towers.
Yeah.
But like D'Onofrio too is like I don't think I've seen D'Onofrio so young with so much hair.
Yeah. Well, he also has all that hair in Adventures of Babysitting when he's Thor.
Oh, I forgot.
You forgot he's Thor? Oh my God. Yeah.
It's like when he's in here, I'm like, oh my God, he's got so much hair.
Yeah. I think I've already talked about how much I'm a fan of D'Onofrio. So.
Oh yeah, D'Onofrio is awesome.
Yeah.
Like the mystery that I like and I don't like the mystery of who's sending the postcards. Because they drop the mystery after Kahane gets killed. But then obviously Griffin's still getting postcards.
Right.
They make you think it's Lyle Lovett's character. But Lyle Lovett is with Detective Avery.
Right.
So then who's sending the postcards? And they just ignore it. Like,
I have that answer for you.
I know who it is.
Okay.
That's the one thing I like. I don't like that they ignore the mystery.
Yeah.
But I like that in the end, it's obviously the guy who does the
eulogy
in the funeral.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's the same voice as the angry guy in the funeral.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah. I think it's also because he says things in the eulogy that I think
they're very anti.
But he also mentioned some of the. There's a turn of a phrase or one or two phrases that he
almost says something that seems to be like sending postcards and stuff.
Right.
Like that.
Right.
We're sending them a message.
Yeah, but he's just a struggling screenwriter who wants to get a gig, and he does, and he sells it out.
Producer kills writer.
I didn't see. That's the other thing too. Like the only person that is honest in this film is Kahane because he doesn't. He's for art's sake. He doesn't take the deal. He doesn't want it. He basically tells Griffin to go screw. And for what does he get? He gets killed. So
you're only giving me this deal because you're afraid.
Right. He's not playing the game. And if you don't play the game in Hollywood, you get murdered. Like that's pretty much what it is.
That's true too. Yeah.
Is that what they're saying? Overtly? Maybe. Inadvertently? Yes. But it's definitely there. So I thought that was interesting. Did you get the reference to the movie M? Did you get that reference? So you know about the movie M with Peter Lorre?
I know of it, but I didn't really get the reference. I know that was his table, Mr. M.
Yes. So in the movie M, Peter Lorre plays a child killer, but like they're on the hunt for him. It's in Germany. And that's the thing. He leaves like the scrawled M is how they know how they mention him, know who he is, but they are after him. So when you see the note for Mr. M, it's like obviously because they are after Griffin Mills. So my note is like real subtle.
One thing I had a note about that I thought was going to come back, I thought, oh, that's heavy foreshadowing, is when they enter the retreat, they pan over to the left and they zoom in on a sign that says only one vehicle allowed entrance at a time.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
And I thought I put, okay, so the police are going to show up en masse or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Nothing happens with it.
I didn't get that at all.
But maybe you noticed it though.
Yeah, because they move over. Yeah. They not only pan over, but they sit on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're just like, okay, and?
So was it just to show that it's an exclusive resort? Because I think the fact that it's in the middle of the desert.
Maybe we're missing something that they didn't put in there. But yeah, it didn't make any sense. And maybe if somebody explained it to me, then I'd be like, oh, it makes sense now. But yeah,
I just didn't know if I was the only one that was like, nothing came of that.
Yeah, no. Well, this movie also came out when So we talked about Robert Altman a little bit, but this film came out when Altman was not. We had talked about how he did Popeye and Popeye failed. Then he went over to Europe and just started doing a bunch of films because he wasn't getting a lot of work in Hollywood. This film was part of his comeback. So he did this film. And then after that, he did the adaptation of Raymond Carver's Shortcuts. So that's kind of what kind of brought Altman back a little bit into Hollywood. But he was gone for about a whole decade almost, maybe 5 or 6 years.
I mean, you watched Popeye.
Yeah,
but he also did MASH. So it's like, it's not fair. Yeah. It's all about, well, I think you said this exact line from when we did Popeyes. What have you done for me lately?
Oh yeah, of course.
All it takes is, which is the same with Griffin Mill. All it takes is one bad picture and then you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me I'm on my way out.
my other favorite line in this film is when Larry Levy's talking about movies and he's talking about, tell me the last movie you watched. And Griffin Mill's like, The Bicycle Thief. Art movie doesn't count. I'm talking about a movie.
No, it wasn't the last movie you watched. The last movie you paid to see a ticket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I thought that line was like, well, that's still the same now, even though art movies have disappeared to VOD.
He's got also they make Griffin make a point to say he only drinks water. He doesn't really drink alcohol.
There's a point that every time he goes to drink water, he orders a different kind
brand of water.
I think that's just him being a douche.
Because I know he goes, which I've gotten this one because I used to serve when I was a bartender for a little while. I was at like a hoity-toity Yale bar,
right?
And we'd have rich clients and stuff, and they would do stuff like, "This is a red one glass. I'm gonna have my water in just a water glass," which is a line he says, and I'm like, that is so like the douchey celebrity. It's like my note is I hate rich white people.
So there's a sex scene in this film. And it's between Griffin and June. And it's shot from the neck up. And so I have 2 notes here. What note do you believe?
Oh, the one where he didn't want her naked and the one where she refused to be naked?
That she said she refused to shoot the nude scene. So that's why they shot from the neck up. But then the other note I have is that she didn't want
her to be nude, only Bridge to be nude.
Yes.
Because it's not what you'd expect.
Right. He had the character of Bonnie. She's nude in the jacuzzi. Just they're talking. It's not a sex scene. They're just talking. She's nude because, quote, she said, "Why me? Nobody's ever asked me to be nude before." And he's like, "That's the reason. Like, that's why I want that."
That's Paul Newman quote.
Right. The Paul Newman comment was about Greta Scacchi being naked. He's like, "You don't get to see the tits you want to see. You get to see the ones you don't want to see." And so that's a Paul Newman quote. And that is what Altman was like,
was going for.
That was what he is like, all about movies, people's expectation movies, putting them together in a jacuzzi was a Hollywood thing in itself. So you expect the nude scene with the Greta Scacchi character. But you get the other jacuzzi scene. I don't know which note to believe.
I think I believe the Greta Scacchi scene.
You think that Altman's quote is revisionist history because she said no.
I think it could be both.
Right.
Maybe that's why he made Bonnie nude, because it's not what you're expecting.
So he's like, hey, can you be nude for this? And she's like, no. He's like, interesting. All right, let me. Like, you think that?
Yeah. And then she said no, and she's like, he's trying to be like, oh yeah, no, I didn't want to make her nude.
But see, here's the thing: if we're to believe Altman and defying expectations, then what you need to see is male nudity. That's what you need to see. Yeah. That's what needs to happen.
Which you do. When Griffin gets out of the mud, his dong is there.
You do, but it's not so like
it's brief.
He doesn't turn to the camera.
No,
like so in that scene, like let's say in the scene in the jacuzzi, you see her kind of naked, but you kind of don't. Right. And then he gets out of the jacuzzi and just like turns right to the camera.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's my favorite scene. I know everyone loves Wild Things because of Nev Campbell and Denise Richards, and they pseudo make out. Yeah. And it's not a big deal. Everyone, just calm down.
I never understood why we were
but my favorite part of that movie is there's a scene where Kevin Bacon is just straight up nude, and it's like he's having a conversation, and they don't cut away. And I remember watching this movie and laughing because I'm like, this is fantastic because all these dudes that came to go see Wild Things were expecting this like huge makeout scene between two girls, and all they get is Kevin Bacon's penis, and I loved it. I was like, yes. I mean, I don't care what you think. I love that scene. I thought that was fantastic. But that's the thing. That's to me is defying expectations as well. So if we're to believe Altman, then I think I would believe it more if he had male nudity.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
And that is our take on nudity in movies today. That was my favorite part of that scene, that movie.
I really like the line, if you don't suffer, then maybe it wasn't a crime after all. If you don't suffer for it, maybe it wasn't a crime after all.
I don't know who said that. That might have been
Feel guilty.
The Fred Ward character, yeah. The security guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they set him up as the bad guy in the beginning when you first see him. But then as the movie goes on, you realize that the Fred Ward's character, which is Walter Stuckel, is actually there to help him.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
He like grills him, but then it turns out he'll cover up anything for the studio.
And then they bring the lawyer in and like they have that thing in the beginning. It's like, of course, stairs.
Yeah. No ramp.
Which I thought was, telling in the 90s,
Don't worry, even if she says something, those prescription glasses?
Yeah, and even that scene was so... I felt like that scene wasn't scripted.
I didn't like that scene. I mean...
But that's
kind of things where I was like,
that's Altman, though, because to be fair, if you ever watch MASH, like MASH is a ton of this. It's just people talking over each other. It's constantly.
Oh, I wasn't a fan of the dialogue talking over Whoopi and everybody because you're getting really confusing.
Right. There's a difference when like that. We talk about Jaws. I always talk about how there's dialogue in the background, but then there's dialogue on the foreground. But the background is not. You don't miss the dialogue in the foreground.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the scene where Brody's on the phone learning about the.
Oh no, his kids are in the background,
and the kids on the counter, and she's giving the mother's giving the Band-Aid. But like that, you can still hear Brody. So like, yeah.
But in this, it's just like, I was thinking, can Whoopi just tell him to shut the fuck up? Can we get to the, I can't hear what's going on. I can't pay attention.
That just felt like that's again, maybe that goes to the question of ineptitude or not. It's a very sloppy way to do that. To do that whole process of seeing, doing the lineup.
Yeah. There's no way.
Very sloppy.
They wouldn't have that many people in and they wouldn't tell them to quiet down.
Yeah. Baby, like this is like a big monk and you wanted to focus and you got the door open. So the hallway's wide open.
Yeah.
You got people talking, yip-yapping.
Just a two-way where no one can see you. Everyone's walking by.
Right. Like I've seen enough Law and Order that when the defense attorney talks to the witness, that the officers go like, you can leave, you can get out of this room right now. They're just all like, shh, be quiet. Oh, and she's, I'm just trying to figure out, I'm like, what the hell is happening here? Let's talk about the 8-minute opening shot.
The 8-minute opening shot's awesome,
isn't it? No cuts, and it's all in that one back lot. And can you imagine the setup for that? Can you imagine how many times they had to run through that?
12 times, I think it was.
Was it
15 or 12?
I didn't catch that. I missed that note. Awesome.
But they did it first with a model. And they rehearsed it overnight or whatever, and they did it.
Mm-hmm. It's like a play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love one of my favorite parts and least favorite parts with the movie is it opens with the clapperboard.
Oh yes.
And action, and then the movie starts. But they don't close out
with the clapper. Yeah.
And I wanted them to close out with the clapper. I was so mad when they didn't go and cut.
That would have been good.
Just something throwaway line.
Yeah, that would have been good too. That's not thinking ahead.
Yeah. Because I was like, oh, that's awesome. All right, now it's going to close being a movie.
Yeah, or it should have closed with the upside down clapper, like the take wasn't good, like the movie wasn't good.
That would have been,
yeah, that would have been great too. I mean, come on here, guys, we're making this movie better.
I do like that during the tracking shot, Fred Ward's character comes back and forth talking about great tracking shots.
He just keeps,
but he never sees the one that anybody else mentions.
Yeah, no, talk about American films, American movies.
You mentioned earlier celebrity cameos that were distracting. I thought Jeff Goldblum's was distracting.
Well, I mean, I wanted to know why he's wearing that Cosby sweater.
He's wearing the Cosby sweater. He comes down the stairs. They make a big deal. Oh, Jeff Goldblum, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But there's no lines. It's really to introduce Larry
Levy. It's just to show Levy worming his way through Hollywood.
Yeah. But it's very distracting that Goldblum is there when he's talking to him.
Yeah.
And they focus on Goldblum too much.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. So this is 92. So Goldblum.
He's already done The Fly.
He is, but he doesn't rock it. He doesn't Malcolm. Right. Yeah. He doesn't rock it to big time studio films until Jurassic Park.
Right.
Because then he does Independence Day after that, and it's just like he's there.
Yeah.
So yes, agreed. I don't know why.
It's too much of a focus.
Maybe Altman loves him. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, The Big Chill is what? 80? No.
80.
I mean, we did this movie. 82? 83? 81?
Early 80s.
Right.
Maybe 83.
Man, we did that film too. How do we not remember it?
It was a few seasons ago. But yeah, so he's done that and he's done The Fly. He did My Stepmom's an Alien or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's just it. Exactly. I know. I hear what you're saying. I was distracted by his Cosby sweater. That's what I was distracted by. Because I was just like, that is a big sweater. And it's making me think that Jeff Goldblum's got like put a little weight on. Like that's what also made it made Jeff give bulk to Jeff Goldblum.
It did get bulk on him.
Yeah.
But he's another really tall guy as well. I believe Jeff Goldblum is almost 7 foot.
Big Show was 83.
Yes, I was right.
Well, we both were. We both said it.
Did you say 83?
I said 83. I think I said all the 80s.
But
was it 81, 82, 83, maybe 84 or 5?
I thought Goldblum's cameo was more distracting, like Angelica Houston's and John Huston.
That's his background. I actually like Burt Reynolds because all his stuff was ad-libbed.
But yeah, exactly. So he didn't even know the character of Griffin, but he knew he was an asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole. Like all of them.
The asshole. And he goes to talk about like dogs. Like, you got to feed them. You got to feed them.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds is great. So we talked about Bonnie a little bit. One of the things about Bonnie that I found that I commented on was that she just disappears from the movie when he sends her away, and then she comes back and she complains and like, hey, what's going? And then like she's gone. She just suddenly just disappears. Not at the studio. She's never.
That's like one of the first times he's become like a big time douche.
True.
When you first see Griffin, and when she comes back, he just ignores her, and he's got his hands on both sides of his couch, sitting alone. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he like it starts feeling sowing his oats, feeling his oats there. Like for some reason.
But I don't understand why he gets so cocky because he's on his way to getting, as far as he knows, this is right before the lineup stuff. He's on his way out. So yeah, I thought that was really weird.
Yeah. I also think Griffin has terrible dirty talk. I don't think he doesn't know how to talk dirty to because there's part of the movie where he's just talking like, dude, shut up. All right. So is this film, I will get to why everything's it's forgotten, but what I want to ask you is, because I want to do this first, who are you suggesting this to? Because if you're not in the business, you might not really understand what they're saying.
Yeah. The satire is not going to be there for anyone who's not really into movies or really into how movies are made.
Right.
You really got to like the behind the scenes stuff about movies.
Right.
Even if you're just like, I love movies, but you know nothing of the filmmaking process.
Right. Like it's, yeah.
You need to know what a producer is, what a producer does.
What exactly happens in terms of like conversations? Like, cause I know that when people think about, if I say like, oh, I read that, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck met with this big producer because they're doing about this movie. You, in your mind, if you don't understand what's happening, you think they're just talking about story and like you're talking about how it's going to look. You know what I mean? You think it's like something like big conversation.
They're trying to pitch like how they're going to make money.
Right. But it's probably like not even like that at all. They probably talk about it and then they probably start talking about their lives. And
when they're big stars like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
also the 25 words or less, you're not going to get that unless you know.
Yeah.
About pitches and stories.
What's funny is that he's 25 words or less. That's basically what gets rebranded as an elevator pitch. They're talking about he's talking about an elevator pitch. They don't call it that, but that's what they eventually call it. Like if you're in an elevator with an exec, can you get your pitch out in time before the elevator doors open?
Yep.
So
I think the movie should have been called 25 words or less.
That could have been. That could have been good.
Also, when they're pitching habeas corpus, they way more than 25 words.
Well, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the play. Yeah, they don't. But I'm not a huge fan of the player as a title. But we just talk about if you don't play the game, you're going to get killed.
And he plays the game.
Right. So it makes sense in that regard. I just think maybe if there's more reference to playing the game in the film, the player title works a little bit better.
I just think there are a lot of pieces that don't necessarily come together really well.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is the comments that I have or the criticisms or just the not I want to say nitpicky, but the criticisms that I have of this film are simply about going from very good to great. That's all.
It's a very good movie.
It is.
It could be amazing.
Right. I think that when we already highlighted them, I think that there are a lot of missed opportunities here to go from very good to great.
And they're just small tweaks, I think, too.
Right. No, agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, I love how they wrap around the final line that's in habeas corpus and that's in the end of the movie.
Yes.
It's like, what took you so long? Traffic was a bitch.
I love the end of habeas corpus. It's so fucking stupid. Especially the way Julia Roberts gets gassed. I'm like, oh my God. And he shoots the shotgun through the glass. Yeah. So that's so Bruce Willis. As when he did that, I was like, holy crap, I can see that.
But that's the thing, too. Like, they're making fun of it, but it's like, Bruce, those are your movies.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what your movies are like back then.
A couple of years later, he did, what's it called, where he's the boat guy.
Striking Distance? Yeah, I know. Brian James is in Striking Distance, the guy the head of the studio who ends up getting canned, who has obviously sun damage on his forehead.
Oh, yeah.
He actually passed away, I think, like a couple years after this movie was made. but I don't know of what. But he passed away. When you see him, you would be like, "Oh, that guy looks familiar. He's in a lot of stuff." But yeah, like it's just these are the type of films that the endings that happen in a Bruce Willis film, and I just like dude, they're making fun of your movies. You know what I mean? And I'm sure he is
laughing all the way to the bank.
Exactly. Good for him. Good for him. The phone conversation that Griffin has with June when he's outside her house.
Conversation?
Right.
Yeah.
I felt like it felt very Hitchcock, but it also felt like it didn't fit in the film.
No, he would have had to go like the serial killer or stalker route.
Right.
It would have been a different film.
Right.
It shows him as a character he's not.
And maybe that's also kind of highlights something else about Griffin is that you talked about how he's sowing his oats on the couch and he's got his arms folded.
Right.
We see him out of control. We see him in control. We see him stalkerish. We see him in love. Griffin really doesn't have one. You really don't know who Griffin is. And maybe that's also part of it. Maybe that's also part of this movie is Griffin Mill is the player. So Griffin Mill is playing the role that he plays whenever the time calls for it. Right.
Because he seems so genuine with June in the talking his thing about being a producer and like he has 5,000 calls and 5,000 pitches.
Right.
And it's so genuine compared to anything else you see him as.
Right.
But also his relationship with June is, I don't believe his relationship with June either.
Well, it won't last.
Right.
Even after they have their child or how many children they have.
Because she's a sociopath as well.
Right.
Which he kind of admits.
Yeah.
And David Kahane calls her the ice queen.
Yeah. Yeah. So
you get along great with her.
That's not going to last. Yeah. But like not
or she murders him and takes
not many relationships last in Hollywood, which obviously we all know are aware
right.
of. So I referenced this before, but why do you think it's forgotten?
It's very specific. It's a very specific audience.
So this goes along with kind of like who you would suggest.
I think who you'd suggest it to. I think it's a very specific audience. You really need to know about movies. I think that the motion picture business and just everything, like, although some things are kind of the same, a lot of stuff has changed in the last 30 years since this movie's come out. Almost 30 years, or exactly 30 years.
To the date? Not yet.
Not yet.
No, 30 plus years.
Oh, right. Because this is 2023. This comes out. Yeah. So I think that hurts it. I think Tim Robbins, although he's a fantastic actor, never really gained huge popularity. So it doesn't really have a huge leading man to make you go, oh, it's a Tim. You don't go, oh, it's a Tim Robbins picture.
Well, his big
his
big film is coming in a couple years with Shawshank, 94.
Yeah. Oh, that's true too. He hasn't even.
So he's kind of in
one big film hasn't even
right. So that's. I mean. Bull Durham's is a big film. He's obviously an accomplished actor at this point, an established actor, but in terms of his next level is not until 94.
Right.
Right.
And nowadays, I don't think he's big.
Well, he won the Oscar for Mystic River like 6-7 years ago.
Future Mike here. By 6 or 7 years ago, field clearly means 20 years ago. Mystic River came out in 2003. Time flies.
He's also older now. So
exactly.
You know what
I mean, like, people aren't going back to it. And Robert Altman, I think we talked about it in Popeye, he's made a couple of bigger movies, but he mostly does what he wants.
Sure.
Yes, he's the guy who directed the MASH movie, which turned into a hugely popular TV show, which is where everybody knows MASH from.
That's funny because that is accurate because when I say, "Hey, MASH," it's like, "Oh, I love that show." It's like, watch the movie. The show's great, but the movie is really good too, and I think it gets overshadowed.
Oh, absolutely gets overshadowed.
Yeah,
which means he kind of gets overshadowed.
Oh well, yeah. But I think that's kind of like Gosford Park is good. I mean, I think that's kind of.
But I think that's his style.
What happens?
I don't think he cares.
No.
But I'm saying that doesn't.
Well, he's no longer with us, so yes, no,
I don't think he cared.
Yeah.
But I don't think that helps it get remembered and carry on as well.
Sure.
So I think those are the reasons. I think this is ripe for a remake. I think this is ripe to be redone, like we said, with more biting satire.
I think, yeah,
in a different way.
Yeah, it needs to be done by people that know of the business but are not in the business. I think because I want
adjacent. Where
I don't want something that turns into, oh my God, you see this movie? It's so great. Like, I want this to turn into a movie where people are like, did you see that movie? It rips Hollywood apart.
But Hollywood would still eat it up.
Oh, they would, but I still want them. But see that. But to me, like, then it's like, I just want something more biting. I want something really serious and more biting.
Especially nowadays, I think you could absolutely get that.
Right.
I'm also very interested. I do kind of want to read the book it was based on as well.
Yeah. Go. I mean, it's going to be dated references, but yeah, go back.
How long ago was the book made compared to the movie? I did not look that
Oh, I don't know, but I mean, I'm talking like the movie's 30 years old, so the book is at least 30, maybe 40.
I understood the references in the player.
I understand that, but you've seen you watch films, you watch movies, you know all these people. Right. I think that I would definitely recommend this to people who make movies, like movies, talk about films and how they're made. I know we have a bunch of podcast friends or people that we follow on social media that are podcasts, about movies and movie reviews, and behind the scenes stuff. If they have not seen this film, I think you should absolutely see this film because it's everything you talk about on all your podcasts and what we talk about.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a movie that I would recommend to people. That I would recommend this movie to a lot of people, but I would understand that some people might not like it as much. Just because they wouldn't get a lot of the references. Right. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's forgotten just because it's so specific in its story in terms of its setting. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's Hollywood setting that it's probably difficult for people to kind of go back to. Connect to. Go back to. Yeah. Right. Plus, the longer you go, all these actors that are in there are older now. They're not as, some of these actors you don't remember anymore. So you might not, just like Karen Black's in this film.
I saw her listed. She's another one where I don't remember where she was.
There's a ton of people in the film that I don't think people know what they are. You know what I mean? Don't worry, John Doolin. I know people know who Karen Black is. I'm just saying.
We didn't even talk about Lily Tomlin's cameo.
So Scott Glenn and Lily Tomlin shoot. Yeah.
Apparently they took the take where they were rehearsing for the take where it was supposed to be rehearsal. Yeah. I love that note. So it was supposed to be a fake rehearsal. And they took the rehearsal take of the rehearsal. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Like another little nugget there. You got anything else?
No, other than the fact that he has a car fax, which I thought was amazing.
I remember faxes, everybody. I asked my 13-year-old, you know what a fax machine is? She's like, a printer. I'll go away.
I'm surprised you knew that much.
Yeah, no, like some fax machines are printers, but not all printers are fax machines.
I also thought the snake scene was really stupid. I guess he has a fear of snakes, but like, how does the writer know he's got a fear of snakes? Yeah. And B, put the top back on the box, you moron.
Well, if you notice, I thought that too.
It's just a lid.
No, when he opens up the side door, you notice that when he opens the lid, the sides come down. It's one of those. Oh, yes. Okay. I thought the same thing. And I was like, dude, just put the lid. And then when he opens the side door, I see that all the sides are down. I'm like, okay, it's that kind of bus.
All right. That's all I got then.
All right. Well, then tell everyone where they can find us.
You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com, as we are part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. While you're there, check out all the other great podcasts and video content we have for you. We promise it's all good. And check us out on the social medias, especially Forgotten Cinemas, the lobby on Facebook, where you can tell us if you've seen the play or what you think about it, what you'd like to see in a remake, maybe. And you're listening to this podcast, wherever you're doing, like, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. That's all
I thought you were talking about how all of our episodes were all good. I didn't think you were talking about the other podcasts. I'm sorry. No, they are all good. I thought you were being like, come listen to our episodes. They're all good. And I was like, well. All right, so join us next week. We're going to 2004, and we're going to Europe for Euro trip. Yeah, that's happening next week.
Scotty doesn't know.
Yep. All right, that's next week, everyone. Until then, have a great week. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.